Ask me your question.
Okay. So what food defines home for you?
Well, if I had to pick out two dishes, I would say it would be chicken soup, and my father's chicken soup specifically. Alan Bloom's chicken soup is kind of...
Is there anything that kind of distinguishes it from other chicken soups?
There's a lot of vegetables in it. It's almost like a chicken vegetable soup. And a whole chicken. It's like a meal unto itself. And then Persian rice with tahdig, which I had every Friday night growing up. As well as like at my bibi, my grandmother's house, all my aunties. Anytime you go to a big Persian anything, there's like platters of rice, with like saffron colored rice on the top, and then the tahdig, which is the fried potato rice bit underneath, which is like the tastiest, most delicious part. And then Friday night dinner as a whole, which we had, was the only time that we were guaranteed that the whole family would eat together. We would sit down together. We usually had guests who were sort of my surrogate family and surrogate mothers and siblings. That whole meal, which reminds me, which would be like my last meal on earth, is, you know, roast chicken soup, roast chicken, rice with tahdig, a salad. My mother makes a very specific salad dressing.
Tell me about the salad.
You know, it's just like a lot of different things in it, but she, in like a odd in suburbia growing up, we never ever had bottled salad dressing. And my mother would dress the salad, you know, just like lemon juice and olive, well, she used to use vegetable oil because we didn't use olive oil in the 80s and 90s, and salt and pepper and whatever. And my friend Josh used to like want to like drink the leftover dressing. And challah. And then for dessert, my mom would always, there was usually some sort of fruit, and then my mom would always make a wine cake, which was just a Duncan Hines cake mix, their butter cake mix, which my mother would make with margarine, so that was kosher for to eat with a meat meal. And she would replace the water with sweet white wine and bake it, and it was like her easy, different, you know, but cake box recipe that she could make really easy. And so, you know, we had Shabbos dinner. We weren't allowed to go out on Friday night. I was sitting right next to my father, to the right of my father, and yeah, those are my favorite memories of growing up.
And the things that you talked about. I mean, the salad dressing. Every salad I've ever had that you made, you use that salad dressing.
I do. Yeah.
I think that I've also been lucky enough to have a serving of your dad's soup at some point in time. But like the other things, are those things that you make as well, like today?
I don't make the rice that much because it's kind of like a little bit of a production. But it wasn't until I even went to college, you know, that I like heard of things like rice cookers, or I had no idea what a rice cooker was, or like instant rice or things like that. So when I can, I do make Persian rice, which is sort of like you cook it and then you recook it again, and then you cook it like pasta, and then you do the layer of fried rice, potato, and then you sort of steam the rice on top of it. I sometimes make it. I should make it more. And you know, sometimes if I make a chicken, I'll make it like that. You know, in retrospect, there was nothing very fancy about what we made, but what we ate, I didn't make it, but it was delicious and just reminds me of home. And the first time I did make a chicken, my mother was working, and we had to like prepare the chicken, and me and my brother were like freaking out, and we had to like call her at the office about like how to like clean the chicken and take out the gizzards. She like put us on speakerphone in her office,
and it's also interesting, I think, because
Josh always a vegetarian. It was just why I think he was particularly squicked out.
I was just gonna say that it's interesting, just given your family background, that like you're having a very traditional Persian dish with like a side of challah. You know what I mean? Anything. I mean, just it's a very cross-cultural meal.
Oh, but yeah, I mean Persian Jews, but yeah. I mean, you know,
You say, oh yeah, but like, it's interesting, you know? Like, you grew up with it.
Yes.
But those aren't
people
necessarily...
would love to come to dinner at our house because maybe the chicken was the same or whatever, but like, the rice was unlike anything else that any of them ever had, or they would.
And do you know if that was like a recipe that was passed down, like, from your...
My bibi, my grandmother?
Or like, how did this, you know, traditional Persian meal come to be cooked in Brooklyn?
Long Island.
Long Island.
But My mother must have learned at some point. She wasn't really allowed in my grandmother's kitchen. But she must have passed it along at some point, or, her other aunties, taught her. My mother didn't usually cook Friday night. My father did, actually. So my father would make the... we called it Ben Cara growing up. Now everyone seems to call it tahdig. My father... We used to call it Ben Cara. And now most people call it tahdig.
Do you know what those, what the words actually mean in Farsi?
No, I mean, that's just... I mean, if you go to, a Persian restaurant now, they usually won't have it on the menu, but if you ask for it, you ask for tahdig, they'll, secretly have it and serve it to you, but it's not usually on the menu, because they can only make it in, you have to,
Yeah.
cook
Labor
the rice
intensive.
with it. Well, it's just you cook it with a pot of rice, so there's a lot more rice in there for tahdig. So my mother actually cooked. My mother taught my father how to cook everything, and then he made all the foods because I was younger, she went back to school to be a lawyer, and then my father was a teacher, so my mother had much longer work hours than my father, and my dad did all of the cooking, cleaning, carpooling, blah blah blah, and my mom would cook for holidays where she would take off from work, but regular Friday night dinner, my dad would cook the meals. And to this day, she gets very annoyed when people talk about Alamblum's chicken soup, because she thinks that it's her chicken soup and that she taught him how to make it, and she gets very annoyed. Anyway.